This is the Personal Brand Game Podcast. My name is EJ Mina, and today we're breaking down Travis Hunter's off-field content playbook. Of all the athletes in the world of sports today, Travis Hunter is going to have the most successful personal brand in the next decade. If there was a Heisman for athlete personal branding, I believe that Travis Hunter would win by a mile. Travis Hunter is not just a unicorn on the field, he's a unicorn off the field because of everything that he's doing to build his personal brand. If you're an athlete or if you're a creator or someone who's building their personal brand, well, we have a lot to learn from Travis Hunter today. His off-field content playbook is right in front of us. It's out in the open, and we're going to dissect it so that we can use it as well. Quick note here, it's not going to be game analysis. It's not going to be discussing, what he does on the field. Today we'll be talking about brand strategy. We're going to look at what he does, study the insights, and take it and learn from it. Welcome everybody to the Personal Brand Game Podcast. My name is EJ Mina. We go by PB Game Podcast for short. And I started this podcast because I'm on a mission to help athletes and creators take their stories and turn them into strong personal brands. I believe that personal branding matters, especially for athletes and creators. If you're an athlete or you're a creator with a strong personal brand, a strong voice, and a strong message, I believe that you have the responsibility of inspiring positive change in someone else's life. Along the way, if you develop a strong personal brand, that can help elevate your life and help you leave a lasting legacy when your days on the field or behind the camera are over. So this is episode 1, and when I started planning and thinking about what topic that I wanted to cover, it was important for me to come out with a bang. I wanted to come out with something big. I wanted to pick an athlete, somebody who has had incredible success on the field, playing their sport, but also somebody who's very relevant in today's media, in today's sports world, and somebody who's absolutely killing it off the field as well too. When I was looking for somebody, I needed to think of someone who had a brand that was hyper relatable. And what I mean by hyper relatable is that the audience that's following them can, live in their shoes and understand what they're doing. And I wanted to find an athlete who had a content strategy that was visible, transparent, and reproducible so that we could take value from understanding what they do and learn from it. So that's what this podcast is about. That's what this episode is about today. I want you to take value from the things that I'm going to provide to you. I want you to look at what Travis Hunter is doing and understand that, you don't have to be a mega star. You don't have to be a superstar. This is something that you and I can do as well. And you might not be a football player. If you're a creator or if you are a football player, maybe you're not playing D1 or you're in the pros. But what we need to know is that what he's doing off the field, it's a masterclass in brand building. And we're going to take what he does in his off-field content playbook and learn from it ourselves. Again, personal branding, I think, is the most worthwhile thing that you can spend your time building, because when your playing days are over, it's your personal brand that's going to open up doors and give you more opportunities. Travis Hunter, I think that he's the perfect example of the modern day athlete who's leveraging their personal brand to build influence beyond the field. I think he's a signal of where athlete personal branding is heading. And not only does he have a strong social media presence, he's diverse across multiple platforms. What do we know about online presence and brand building? We know that you want to show up on different platforms. This is going to help you extend your reach, and that's going to help you find more opportunities for engagement. Those are key terms, key metrics that you want to track in your process of brand building. Why do we want to track engagement? Well, engagement leads to relationships, and successful personal brands are those that build strong relationships with their audience. Now, I'm going to assume that people tuning into this podcast are interested in sports and hopefully know who Travis Hunter is. But if you haven't, or you don't, and maybe you've been sleeping under a rock, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on who Travis Hunter is. So Travis Hunter, he's your 2025 Heisman Award winner, which is the most prestigious Division I college football award, and it's given out to the top player in college football. Travis Hunter, at his time at Colorado University, he was a standout two-way player. He played under the legendary Deion Sanders. We don't have to dive into who Deion Sanders is. Maybe we'll do that for another episode because he's got a big brand himself. Even before he got to CU, he was making noise. So Travis Hunter out of high school, he was the number 2 recruit He committed to Florida State and then he jumped to Jackson State to play under Sanders when he was coaching there. According to ESPN, that made him the first 5-star recruit to sign with an FCS team since 2006. Thank you, ESPN, for the stat. And aside from all these accolades, I think one thing that is important to know is that he's not just an incredible athlete on the field, he's an incredible young man. If you follow Travis Hunter and you read about him in the right places that don't throw him under the bus, what you'll know is that with his NIL money, he didn't take it. Instead, he donated it to 10 to 15 of his teammates. Probably my most favorite Travis Hunter moment that recently happened. He was on an airplane. There was a lady there that was beside him, another passenger. Had no idea who Travis Hunter is. And she tweeted out, or I think posted, that she had like the most enjoyable plane ride and got to have a very awesome conversation with the most respectful young man. And that just goes to show you that you should be good to your seniors and your elders. So take that as a lesson point to learn from. So let's go back to my hypothesis here about Travis Hunter and him having the most successful personal brand in the next decade. Successful athlete personal brand. So Travis Hunter, he's building a next generational brand that goes beyond the game. So even before Travis Hunter took his first snap in the NFL, he's already showing us signs that he's thinking long term. Whether it's him passing off Nike and instead signing with Adidas. And he did that because he wanted to secure a deal, not only for himself, but also for his younger brother, or being his true authentic self across a variety of different platforms. This shows us that Travis Hunter is actively controlling the narrative, and he's driving his personal brand to where he wants it to be. Passing off Nike, signing with Adidas, so shows us that he's controlling the narrative by taking his brand and making sure it sticks to its core beliefs, which is family. And that's going to, help further the Hunter name down the line when he's done playing. So he's been able to build a strong personal brand based off these things, how he connects, creates, and communicates with his audience. Travis Hunter is cross-platform, authentic, and consistent. And wherever he's posting, he's not just posting highlight reels. He's publishing content that is relatable, and he's diversifying his distribution. These are behaviors that both athletes and creators early in their brand building and content creation career should be aware of and make note of. Again, the focus of this episode is not to talk about him on the field. We're going to be decoding his playbook, breaking it down so that we can we will run a version of it ourselves. We got a lot to learn, so let's jump into it. So before we dive into breaking down Travis Hunter's playbook, I want to define what I think is the modern athlete brand. So I think that today's athletes, they need to think like creators and media companies. Why? It's because the way that content is evolving these days, fans and audiences have access to everything instantly right in the palm of their hands. So athletes, they need to think like creators and media companies. It's pretty obvious that Travis Hunter has a media team around him. We already know from his long form content is that he has a cameraman around him. I would bet that he also has a crew of people that help him plan and post. If you don't, then kudos to you, Travis Hunter, because that's a very tough job. Take it from myself, who's just trying to, run a one-man show and use a content calendar. Building a successful personal brand, you need to treat this like a full-time job. I'm going to tell you that it's more than just posting. There's a good amount of analysis involved. If, you're just posting and not reviewing your results, you're probably not going to get to where you want to go with your brand. So a pro tip, if I can throw this in here, is to set yourself up for success. Track your metrics. Each platform will provide this to you. And get analytical. I'm sure Travis Hunter, he thinks like a business because basically brand building is one. On that note, if you're in a position like Travis Hunter, who can financially afford a team around him, I would highly recommend it. It's a worthwhile investment. One thing I'm learning in my brand building career, and I don't have a team yet, I'm just by myself, but eventually when we get to the point of, offering more services and products and things like that, is that I'm not going to do it solo. I'm going to focus on just the things that are important to me, things that I can specialize in. And that's probably what Travis Hunter is doing. He's focusing on just, being himself and letting a team around him tell his story. All right, so let's jump into storytelling and the role that it has in personal brands. The rise of personal brands in sports is about storytelling and it's not just stats. So these days, personal brands that are rising are personal brands that tell stories. And I think that this is the absolute best thing you can do with your content these days. No matter what niche you're in, whether it's sports, tech, education, storytelling is the way to go. A story about me, some background on me is that I film sports. And as a sports videographer, one of the things that we try and do is to get frames and clips that, help our audience feel emotionally connected to the game. My objective when I'm filming is to film and tell good stories and tell stories that will bring people in. And that's the same thing that I'm doing with trying to build my brand. I'm trying to have people connect to what I'm doing, build a relationship with my audience because my story is my brand, right? If you're sharing your story, your personal story, just like Travis Hunter does, if you let people in, you're not going to, just build an audience. You're going to build loyalty. We all have our favorite athletes, our favorite artists, people that we, rock with and look up to. For me, it's not about the stats that they're putting up. I choose to rock with people because of their brand and their message. I don't care if you get 4 interceptions. I don't care if you're playing like a minute on the field. I don't even care where you're playing. If I can relate to you, if I can, understand your message and your brand, it doesn't matter like what kind of success you're having on the field. What's also key in storytelling though is being transparent and being authentic. You want to tell stories that come from real experiences. Highly recommend you to take a step back and think about, who you are, what some of your important experiences are and, your values, and build your story from that. Don't build it off, things that you're not, because it's going to lead you to a destination where you probably don't want to be and have, the wrong people supporting you. Let's jump into the fun part now and break down Travis Hunter's off-field content playbook, dissect what he is doing. So I mentioned a lot that Travis Hunter is showing up cross-platform. Let's look at his numbers. So 126,000 followers on Twitch. He's got 548,000 followers on YouTube, 2.1 million on Instagram, and 2 million on TikTok. Yes, he's got a lot of followers. Keynote, followers is not going to be everything. I mean, don't get discouraged if you don't have a big following. Other things matter like comments and engagement, right? But going back to Travis, I want to call out Twitch specifically. I think that Twitch is a master move. I think that Twitch is probably the least amount of effort required to publish content. And Travis Hunter, he's leaning into something that's naturally him. And he's probably building an audience more than just sports fans. He's on a platform for gamers. And what you're getting on Twitch is genuinely him. He's a regular dude. He's gaming with his homies. He's 22 years old. And what do most 22-year-olds do? All of the work that he's doing there is building connection and relatability with his audience. Travis doesn't wait for ESPN. He tells his own story on YouTube. So Travis is also on YouTube. He doesn't have just one channel, but he has 2. One of them follows his daily life and the other one is a video podcast. So the way that he uses YouTube is another example of how he's controlling his own narrative. So he's not waiting for ESPN or another network to tell his story. He's actively creating things like game day vlogs, day in the life videos, training videos, and he's giving you all access to everything about him and what his brand is about. His content gives fans context, personality, and purpose. So Travis Hunter's video styles, they're simple and they make it easy to understand his personality. He doesn't have any crazy video edits, and I'd argue that the most elaborative and creative thing that Travis has are his thumbnails. He's taking you places like fishing, life on the road, and if you watch his videos, nothing is scripted. It's all very raw Travis Hunter. He's got a cameraman who he sometimes calls out. Sometimes he's even got like a POV camera on himself if you watch his most recent video, fishing video. So things like video games and fishing, those are types of content that, his audience can easily relate to. And I mean, anybody can relate to video games and fishing. This goes to show us that Travis is very intentional on giving his audience an authentic view of who he really is. And this is important because this goes to show you that, you don't have to flaunt, your success. You don't have to have the highest quality edits, the best cameras, the best color, the best sound to start publishing content. You have a baseline of where you can start. As long as you're posting content that is relatable, this will help your audience recognize your brand, help your brand stand out, and help it be unforgettable. And I think long form content is perfect for that. It's a very smart move for Travis to invest time into YouTube, because YouTube is where relationships are made. It's where you build loyalty. It's where you connect with your most devoted followers. It's not rocket science, okay? Who are you more likely to trust? Are you more likely to trust a brand that you spend 40 to 60 minutes with a week, or a brand that you spend 30 seconds with through short form content? So with all this being said, we can't shy away from the obvious here. I mentioned many times that Travis Hunter is a unicorn on the field, and it's a rarity these days to have an athlete, somebody who plays both sides of the ball, and he will so in the NFL. But I wouldn't let that overshadow what he's done off the field. You could play both ways, but your brand won't get to where Travis is if you don't have the charisma that he has. Personality is big. Travis Hunter has a big personality, and this is good if you're trying to attract an audience. People will gravitate towards people that have good and positive energy. And I think Travis Hunter is just as electric off the field as he is on the field. And he's also incredibly inspiring. And why I think he's inspiring? Well, if you haven't seen his Heisman acceptance speech, you need to watch it. So his speech to his dad, very heartstring pulling. It was really something. In my opinion, it's probably going to be one of those speeches that will live forever, because it does a lot for family and community. We go back to talking about his deal with Adidas and why he locked it in to get a deal for his brother. His speech there is naturally validating Travis's brand and what he stands for, which is family. I'm going to go to bat here and say that Travis Hunter's X factor is not just his talent on the field, but potentially his X factor is his personality. Let's redirect here, because I could probably sit and talk about Travis Hunter and his good qualities all day. Now let's get into talking about what we've learned from Travis and apply the same strategies ourselves to help build our personal brand. There's two things that we need to figure out first, and something that I've learned from listening to other brand experts or people on their own personal brand journey is that they like to use frameworks, and then they like to use acronyms to figure out the important things. So I'm going to introduce you to something that I came up with. It's called brand DNA. All right. DNA stands for difference, now, and ahead. I want to start with difference and now first, because these are two things that we need to define before moving on to figuring out like our long-term vision. Difference is our special sauce, okay? Stick with me here. It's the first thing we're figuring out. Difference is our special sauce. It's what people remember us for. You don't have to be a megastar. You don't have to be a superstar to have, something that makes you different. You already have one. If you don't, then let me help you define that. Your difference is your gift. It's the thing that makes you helps you stand out. It doesn't have to be an athletic gift. It doesn't have to be something astronomical. Just pick something that makes you feel special and what you want to be known for. So for me, for example, it's not just sports videography. I'm known for filming athletes, or I want to be known for filming athletes in sports in a way that feels cinematic and personal. So when you figure out your difference, pick something that you feel proud of, something that you feel passionate about, and then build on it. A simple fill in the blank exercise for you to figure out your difference is finishing this sentence. People remember me because I blank. That's your difference. All right. So now that we have our difference figured out, the second piece that's important to have is our now. So our now is our core story. It's the narrative that gives our brand depth. The now is what we do, whereas our difference is what makes us stand out. We use our now to build connection. So my now is I'm building my brand to show others that a strong personal brand can inspire and positive change, and that if I build my brand out in the open, others can observe how it's done and what effect it has, and then do the same for other people. We use our difference and our now to understand what makes us special and what our story and our brand represents. And then when we figure out what our difference and our now is, that'll allow us to understand what our ahead is. Our ahead is our long-term vision. Our ahead helps us figure out what direction we're going with what we want to be known for and what we're currently doing. It helps us understand what impact we want to have. Taking my example, the impact that I want to have is helping athletes and creators turn into iconic leaders and helping their brand last well beyond their playing or creating days. Now, you probably are wondering why, we're not figuring out our ahead first, our outcome or our long-term vision first. Well, I believe that it's important to figure out that after you figure out your difference and your now, because our difference and our now is our identity. It's our true identity. And I think it's important to define that meaning before we set, our long-term ahead or our long-term vision and our impact. This is because I think defining these things first gives us a really true foundation that we can set goals from. And we're not building things from, we're setting goals not just from like trends or, desires that aren't really us, but we're actually building our vision, our ahead from what our actual difference is and what our now is and what we want to represent. So now that we've set our brand DNA, we can start running the same plays that Travis Hunter is running from his off-field content playbook. And it's not very deep. The first one, cross-platform presence, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. This is where Travis Hunter is showing up. He's developing long-form content, short-form content. I am a fan of YouTube because how I feel about, long-form content's ability to build a long-term audience, a loyal audience. And what I also love about YouTube is that, these days you don't have to have the most polished edits, probably something that, Instagram doesn't respond to the same. So first play, show up in different places. Second play, show up as the authentic you. Be your true self. Share your real experiences. Tell your true stories. We know if you do these things, you'll be relatable. And relatability is a key factor in building brand loyalty. Authentically tell your story. Focus on sharing things that your audience can relate to. Even if you're a Heisman winning athlete like Travis, you have life experiences that the everyday person can relate to. And number 3, the final play that I'll suggest running from his playbook is be consistent. We talked about treating this like a full-time job. Take it seriously. Don't show up for 2 weeks and then disappear. Be there consistently. Travis is consistent with posting, and I know that he probably has a social team, but you can be consistent as well. Come up with strategies to help you get there. Use a content calendar, plan ahead. Without getting into what to post, the most important thing to do for you is to get into the habit of posting and being consistent. No one will ever know your story. No one will ever know your brand if you're not making the effort to create content and post it. So that takes us to the end of the episode here. But before we go, let's do a final recap of what we've learned today. We've broken down Travis Hunter's off-field content playbook by analyzing everything that he's doing. Before we get into the plays that he's running, we've learned to define our brand DNA, which is going to help us set up a true foundation for who we are, what we want to do, and where we want our brand to go. And once we figured that out, the 3 plays that we're going to run from Travis Hunter's playbook is number 1, being cross-platform, number 2, being authentic, and number 3, being consistent. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, I want to encourage you to give us a follow. Goal for me is to keep coming out with content that gives you value. As an athlete, as a creator, someone who wants to build their personal brand, I hope that you like, subscribe, and follow. And if you've made it this far into the episode, just want to say thank you. Appreciate you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Peace out.